So, a few years ago, I did a podcast episode covering who I believe was the greatest basketball player of all time, where I made arguments for three players: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kareem Abdul Jabbar. But while the NBA GOAT conversation is always one of the hottest topics around in sports, what about the WNBA? Because on April 24th, 1996, the WNBA was officially founded. And in 28 years of existence, the league has also seen some incredible players in their league. Despite that deep history, though, I have managed to get this conversation down to three exceptional women's basketball players. But who are they? Who's the best? The commentary on the WNBA's GOAT starts right now. Welcome back to the Play by Play podcast. This is episode number 43, where today we will be doing a full analysis of some of the greatest women's basketball players in history. And by the end, we will officially pick who is the greatest of all time. If you are watching this video on YouTube and haven't yet, please feel free to subscribe, like the video, share with your friends, and please comment down below. And if you haven't, please follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can always be notified of when the next episode is posted and so that you can see my reactions to the latest breaking news in the NFL, NBA, and now WNBA. There should be a bar popping up right here. The TikTok is at official play-by-play. The Instagram is going to be at play-by-play_podcast. And the Twitter is at play-by-play_pod0. All of the ads are in the description below. Please go check them out. And without further ado, let's get into this episode and check out the three players that are officially in contention for the Play-by-Play podcast's greatest WNBA player of all time. Our first player that is going to be in contention is going to be Diana Taurasi of the current Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA. Now, if you go online and look up the greatest WNBA player of all time, chances are Diana Taurasi sits at number one on most, if not all, of the lists. And with good reason. It was 7 years ago when Taurasi officially became the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, and her lead continues to grow, with her now stacking up over 10,000 points, becoming the only woman in WNBA's history to hit 1,000 points. And you add on to that some of the following accomplishments. She was Rookie of the Year in 2004. She is a 3-time WNBA champion, a 5-time gold medalist, a 1-time MVP, 2-time WNBA Finals MVP, 5-time scoring champion, 10-time All WNBA First Team, and 11-time WNBA All-Star. And she is also one of only 2 players to win the WNBA scoring title, MVP, WNBA championship, and Finals MVP in the same season. The only other person to do that is another very talented women's basketball player by the name of Cynthia Cooper Dyke. Now, when discussing Taurasi's legacy, things can get a little bit complicated. I mean, sure, longevity is in her favor. She is now entering her 20th year in the WNBA. However, when you really look into it a little bit further, 1 year she actually held out to play for her overseas team in Russia. And the final quarter of her career has been really plagued by injury. Questions also revolve around certain accomplishments. She was only recognized once as the WNBA's best player for MVP. However, staying with the same team has given her a boost in many people's eyes, and her 3-level scoring is very, very unmatched. Taurasi has a very, very strong case, but I think that there are certain holes that make this conversation very, very open and also make it, well, a conversation. Which moves us on to the next woman in mind, that being Tamika Catchings, who spent her entire career with also the very same team in the Indiana Fever. Now, Diana Taurasi brings a lot of the offensive production that we see, but Tamika Catchings brings the defense. Catchings is the all-time steals leader by over 300 steals. She is top 5 in rebounding. She is the greatest defensive player in WNBA history, and there is no discussion when it comes to that. And her scoring numbers aren't too far off of Taurasi. Here are her accomplishments. She's a one-time WNBA champion. She's a one-time WNBA Finals MVP. She's a one-time WNBA MVP. She's a 10-time WNBA All-Defensive First Team, 5-time WNBA DPOY, a 7-time WNBA First Team, a 10-time WNBA All-Star, and she also led the league 8 times in steals. The only player in history as well at any level of basketball, whether that being men's or women's, that has been officially recognized with a quadruple double. She only missed the playoffs 2 of her 14-year career, and one of the reasons why she's the league's all-time leading playoff scorer, rebounder, and stealer. Sure, she has never led the league in scoring, and her scoring numbers by season are comparable but not as good as Taurasi's. But if you're looking for the best player on both sides of the ball, Catchings is at the top of the list, which is why she is my front runner, at least for now, as the greatest of all time. And finally, the third woman that I have on my list is going to be Sue Bird. Now, every good GOAT conversation needs to have a wild card. In the NBA, that could be certain players such as Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, guys who are arguably the best player at their position, but maybe quite didn't reach the pinnacle and dominance of some of the top players such as Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Maybe some players that had certain holes throughout their career, maybe some players that had some low points in certain years, or maybe some players that didn't even have the longevity as other players through. And that is Sue Bird. Now, if you wanted to make some NBA comparisons about these players, Taurasi is very similar to Kobe. Catchings could be like your Kevin Garnett. And Sue Bird would kind of be like John Stockton. Now, I know at first glance that might sound insane. I mean, obviously, Stockton and Garnett are not in the same class as somebody as a Kobe who is listed as top 10 in NBA history. But in this world, Bird is actually not too far behind the prior two that I had mentioned. She adds on 13 All-Star appearances, the most in WNBA history, I might add, with her final 2 coming in her last 2 seasons. Add on 5-time All-WNBA First Team, 3-time WNBA Assist Leader, and being the all-time assist leader in WNBA history, and you begin to see Sue Bird inch closer and closer. Bird started off her career as part of one of the biggest big threes in WNBA history alongside Lauren Jackson and Betty Lennox. She headlined the trio at certain points with her clutch shot making in Game 2 of the 2010 WNBA Finals against the Phoenix Mercury. Clutch finishes that I might add earned her the 2-time Clutch Performer of the Year in the WNBA. And following that, she went through a couple of average years due to knee injuries, but hit a resurgence starting in 2016, passing Tamika Catchings for the most All-Star appearances, with help from number 1 overall picks such as Jewell Loyd and Breanna Stewart. Bird is a very, very interesting contestant in this. She was never looked at as the top player in the league ever, with her never being able to grab MVP. However, really did set an example of how a true point guard should play with her incredible passing skills. It's something that we see in guys such as Magic Johnson and John Stockton that I had previously mentioned. Guys that really formatted what a point guard should really be. A point guard needs to be able to distribute the basketball at will. A point guard needs to be able to start a team's offense, unlike somebody such as Stephen Curry, who still has incredible playmaking skills, but relies more on his offense ability, both on and off the ball, and of course, his incredible shooting. Sue Bird is the structured women's point guard when it comes to women's basketball history. She broke a lot of records and was able to get off to a fast start in her career and recover to go on to become a better and more mature version of herself later on in her career, such as Kobe Bryant did in his career, going from number 8, a very young, hungry lion in the league who, along with the duo, which Shaquille O'Neal was able to grab 3 titles, to a more mature version with number 24 in 2009 and 2010, with along guys such as Meta World Peace and Pau Gasol, was able to be a dynasty team in the Boston Celtics and a young, hungry team in the Orlando Magic to win 2 straight championships. I think Sue Bird sits short of the last two, but there is no question in my mind that she definitely deserves to be in this conversation and could easily crack the top 5 of the WNBA all-time list. Those are my 3. Now, of course, there are plenty of other women that are in consideration. There are plenty of women that have had not only great WNBA careers, but have had great Olympic careers and international careers, although I'm not counting those. You have women such as Lisa Leslie, somebody who you want to talk about Sue Bird being the most structured point guard in the league, probably set the standard of being one of the most structured big men in the WNBA. You have Lauren Jackson, who I mentioned formerly. You have Cheryl Swoops, who had a dominant run with the Indiana Fever as well, catching 4 MVPs. There are a lot of other women in this conversation, but from a skill perspective, these 3 women take the cake, with Taurasi being incredible in scoring, Bird being an incredible distributor, and Tamika Catchings absolutely dominating when it comes to defensively. But who takes it? Now, let's focus on Taurasi and Catchings side by side real quick. Looking at them, Catchings does not have a Rookie of the Year award. That right away could possibly be alarming, but do keep in mind that she was coming off of an injury going into her rookie season. Taurasi wins the championship debate, has 2 more than her. With that, grabs 1 more finals MVP and all that, but keep in mind has no defensive team considerations or defensive player of the year considerations throughout her entire career. Never has led the league in any type of defensive category, but still managed to beat out Tamika Catchings in all-star teams, still managed to beat out Tamika Catchings in all WNBA first teams, and has played a considerably more amount of time than Tamika Catchings has in her career due to her body giving out later in her career. If we look at efficiency for these 2 players, the best season that Diana Taurasi had efficiency-wise was in her 2009 championship season, where she went on to average 46% from the field and 40% from the three-point line. Looking at Tamika Catchings, she had an incredibly efficient season in 2010, going nearly 50% from the field, and 45% from 3. In fact, she never dipped below 38% in her career. Her lowest efficiency season was 38% in 2015, which I will mention was her second to last season in the league. Absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Taurasi, again, plagued by injury, but also has been below 38% several times in her career in 2016, 2022, and 2021. What's the battle here? Who do you really want to take? The question really is, who is the greatest women's basketball player of all time? When I look at this, Taurasi is very, very tempting. Her offensive capabilities are incredible. But there is no doubt in my mind that Tamika Catchings is the much better player when it comes to both ends of the field. It is no question in mind of the court. There's no question in my mind that Tamika Catchings is the better defensive player. There's no doubt in my mind that Tamika Catchings, despite playing 8 less years than Diana Taurasi, still manages to have very, very close numbers when it comes to accomplishment-wise, when it comes to point-wise, and outdoes her defensively. There is a lot of huge discussion here. It's very, very close, and there could be other women in consideration like I talked about. But for right now, I got to go with Tamika Catchings. She's the greatest defensive player of all time. When we look at something such as the NBA debate, Michael Jordan, LeBron James are so great, not just because of what they've been able to do offensively, not just because of what they've been able to do accomplishment-wise, but because they've been able to be dominant on both sides of the court. Michael Jordan was defensively one of the greatest players defensively, helped aid Scottie Pippen in becoming a great defensive wing himself. Tamika Catchings did something very, very similar. She's a top defensive player. She dominated the WNBA defensively. Was a matchup nightmare on both sides of the court. And as great as Taurasi has been, she's one-sided. She dominates on one side of the court. And while you may put longevity in her favor, she has not been able to perform like LeBron James has had in the same amount of time in the NBA. LeBron James is still looked at as likely a top 10 player in the NBA. LeBron James is still averaging around or above 20 points per game right now. Taurasi has not had that type of production. If we look at it, in 2023, averaged 16 points per game. 2019, 5 years ago, she averaged 4.3 points, only playing 6 games. While she has had longevity in the league, while she has played 8 more years, one thing that LeBron James hasn't had in the NBA is he's avoided injury. He's been able to stay on the court in a elongated season. Diana Taurasi has not been able to do the same. Tamika Catchings was able to do it. Even though it was a shorter amount of time, she only played under 30 games 3 times in her career. 3. Taurasi has done it 5 times and has struggled when it comes to the back end of her career. That is why Tamika Catchings tops my list and is my WNBA GOAT. That was all from me. A very, very quick episode this week, but one that I think sparks a lot of conversation. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who is your GOAT? Who do you like out of the 3 players that I mentioned? Is there somebody else that you think should be in consideration? Like I said, Sherelle Swoops had 4 MVPs in her career. We did not even discuss her today. Maybe I should have brought more players, made this a little bit longer, but it was a very, very quick, very short episode that I wanted to spark a little bit of conversation, and hopefully we did that. Let me know what you guys think. If you have not already, please subscribe, like the video, share with your friends. Please follow us on all social medias. The bar should be popping up right here. All the ads are down below in the description. Thank you guys for tuning in. And with that, I'm your host, Diego Gallegos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.